Have you ever stopped to wonder what powers, well, literally everything? That thought you just had? The blink of an eye. What's the fuel? Well, today we're going to take a tour of the most incredible, most efficient chemical factory in the universe, the living cell. Just look at this. It's incredible. That's not some kind of special effect. Those are actual ocean waves glowing in the dark. It's a phenomenon called bioluminescence, and it's basically life turning chemical energy into pure light. Now, what's so cool about this is that the fundamental process making this happen is the exact same one that's powering you right now as you watch this. So the big question is, how does life manage its energy so perfectly? Okay, so to really get this, we've got to shift our perspective a little. I want you to start thinking of every single living cell as a tiny, bustling chemical factory. I mean, inside, there are thousands of reactions happening every single second. It's this complex, perfectly coordinated city of activity. And the name for that entire operation? That's metabolism. To put it simply, metabolism is the grand total of every single chemical reaction happening inside an organism. It's the whole shebang. It's the master blueprint, the operational plan that runs everything from turning your lunch into usable energy to building the very stuff your cells are made of. But here's the thing. This factory isn't just chaos. Not at all. The whole process is incredibly orderly. You see, reactions are arranged in these step-by-step sequences, kind of like a super efficient assembly line. We call these metabolic pathways, where one molecule gets tweaked and changed step by step by step until it becomes the final product. And, just like any big factory, this one has two main divisions that do basically the exact opposite things. You've got your demolition division and your construction division. On one side, you have catabolic pathways. Think of these guys as the demolition team. Their job is to take big, complex molecules, like the sugars and fats from your food, and just break them down into simpler parts. And when they do that, they release a whole bunch of energy. Then you've got the other side, anabolic pathways. This is the construction crew. They do the opposite. They take that energy and use it to build complex things the cell needs. And the absolute classic example of a catabolic, energy-releasing pathway is cellular respiration. This is the main event. It's the process where your cells take fuel, like the sugar glucose, and systematically dismantle it to extract the energy that's needed to power everything else. It is the factory's primary power plant. Okay, so the demolition crew releases energy, and the construction crew uses it. But how does the factory actually move that power from one place to another? It can't just be floating around. It needs a universal currency, right? A portable, rechargeable battery that can power any machine on the site. Well, in the cell, that battery is called ATP. ATP, which stands for adenosine triphosphate, is the cell's universal energy shuttle. It's kind of the ultimate middleman. It expertly captures the energy released from breaking stuff down and then delivers it exactly where it's needed to build stuff up. This whole process, linking an energy-releasing reaction to an energy-consuming one, we call that energy coupling, and ATP is the absolute star of the show. So where is all this energy actually stored? The secret is in ATP's structure, specifically in its tail, which is made of 3 phosphate groups. Now, here's the deal. Each of these phosphate groups has a negative charge, and just like trying to push the same poles of 2 magnets together, they desperately want to repel each other. Forcing them to stay together is like compressing a powerful spring. It's just loaded with potential energy. So, whenever the cell needs to get some work done, it uses a molecule of water to snip the bond holding that last phosphate group. And snap! The spring is released, unleashing a powerful burst of energy that the cell can use. The ATP molecule, now that it's lost a phosphate, has become ADP. That's adenosine diphosphate for 2. But here is the absolute genius of the system. These batteries are completely rechargeable. The energy we get from breaking down our food is used to jam that third phosphate right back onto ADP, recompressing the spring and turning it back into a high-energy ATP molecule. It's this constant, incredibly fast cycle. I mean, get this, a single hardworking muscle cell can recycle its entire pool of ATP every single minute. It's incredible. Okay, so our factory has its assembly lines and its universal power source. But who's actually doing the work? Chemical reactions don't just happen on their own, even the ones that release energy. The factory needs a highly skilled, ridiculously efficient workforce, and that's where enzymes come in. You see, to get any chemical reaction going, you first need to put in a little bit of energy to get the molecules all wobbly and unstable so their bonds can break. Think of it like pushing a boulder up a small hill before it can roll down the much bigger hill on the other side. In chemistry, we call that initial energy investment the activation energy. And sometimes that can be a pretty big hill to climb. Now, this creates a huge problem for life, right? I mean, in a chemistry lab, you could just heat everything up to get the reactions going faster. But a living cell can't just crank up the thermostat. It would literally cook itself and all its delicate parts. So how on earth does it get over this activation energy barrier safely and efficiently? The solution is, well, it's just breathtakingly elegant. Enzymes. These are biological catalysts. They are the master craftsmen of the cell. What an enzyme does is it grabs onto the reacting molecules and dramatically lowers that activation energy hill. The reaction can now happen millions of times faster, and it all happens at normal body temperature. No boiling required. And these workers are extreme specialists. Each enzyme has its own unique 3D shape, with a special little groove or pocket called the active site. And this site is perfectly shaped to fit one and only one target molecule, which we call the substrate. It is the ultimate lock-and-key system. The process they use is this simple, beautiful cycle. First, the substrate fits into the active site. Then, the enzyme changes its shape just a tiny bit to get a tighter grip. We call this induced fit. This little hug puts stress on the substrate's bonds, helping the reaction to happen. Once the substrate is converted into products, they pop out, and the enzyme is immediately free and ready for the next customer. They are tireless, reusable little workhorses. So, we have our assembly lines, we have our power source, and we have our tireless workers. But an out-of-control factory would just create chaos, right? It would waste energy and resources, and if life is about anything, it's about efficiency. So how does the cell manage its whole factory floor? Well, it really just comes down to smart, simple logic. Any good factory manager would shut down an assembly line when the warehouse is already full of a certain product, right? It just makes sense. You conserve resources. And it turns out cells have evolved some incredibly clever ways to do the exact same thing. One of the most common methods is called feedback inhibition. It's so cool. Here's how it works. As the final product of a metabolic assembly line starts to build up, that product molecule itself goes all the way back to the first enzyme in the line and temporarily switches it off. It's a perfect supply and demand system. As soon as the cell uses up that product, the enzyme is released and the assembly line kicks right back into gear. So you see, the cell has all these different layers of sophisticated control. It can manage things long-term by telling its genes to make more or less of an enzyme. It can react in real time by switching existing enzymes on or off. And it can even physically organize the factory floor by packing all the enzymes for one specific pathway together inside a compartment, like the mitochondria, which is the headquarters for cellular respiration. And that brings us right back to where we started. From that spark of light in a glowing wave to the complex thoughts you're having right now, all of it is powered by this stunningly efficient chemical factory inside our cells. It all runs on the same basic rules. Break things down to get energy, use that energy to build things up, and manage the whole process with microscopic precision. And that kind of leaves us with one final big question. What does this universal, elegant efficiency tell us about the very nature of life itself?